Hi, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing. Today on Conscious Business Zone with my personal coach and one of my favorite people, Kellan Flukinger. And actually, that's the first time I knew how to pronounce it correctly, better known as Kellan. And Kellan is in Canada, and I'm in Colorado. We're on the same time zone, but it's snowing like crazy here. Is it snowing there, Kellan?
It's overcast and supposed to snow a little, but not snowing right now. I just walked home from the mall. I had a meeting this morning.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I wanted to let everyone know that's on my list and in my groups that Kellan does this process called the results equation. And I hope you can see this. And I guess I started in 2017 with him with a group coaching model that is remarkable. If you want to create forward motion in your business, in your life, Kellan has the solution and an incredible model of a way to do it. So Kellan, tell us more about the results equation, if you could.
I'd love to. So thank you, Kathy, first of all, for having me.
Sure.
I really enjoy knowing you, and I treasure having you among the group of people that I get to help. I'm a coach, but I had a 30-year career as an executive and a consultant, doing things in high-profile, high-pressure situations. Got called in to sort of do Mission Impossible stuff without bombs and guns, but high-pressure things. And over the years, I became well known for that. And when I decided to get out of that world in 2008, about 10, 11 years ago, I started to think about what is it that allowed me to do that? What was it? And so I looked at the models that I had used and successes of others and created the results equation, which is not hyperbole. It is a step-by-step process. It's about how to think about a goal and how to plan it and how to do. I mean, there's only 4 questions. Where are you today? Where do you want to go? What's the path between here and there? And how do you keep moving? And if you solve those 4 things, you can accomplish anything you want. So how do you keep, where am I today is about telling the truth. Now, when we talk about some things, that's easy to do. Where am I today? Well, I'm in Edmonton. That's not hard. Where am I emotionally? That's more complicated. Where am I financially? Well, I'd like to lie because it'd be nice if I pretended I had more than I do. And you see that all the time on social media and stuff, people posturing and being posers. So if you can answer the question truthfully about where you are and where you'd like to be, and where you'd like to be is not pie in the sky. Well, I want to have a lot of money, but precisely what you'd like to have. I always say, do what by when. So do what? Exactly what do you want by when? So the results equation process that Kathy referred to it's a book that I'm writing that will be published in March. So that will be an actual book. It'll be my 9th or 10th or whatever book. And it's going to be out in March on Amazon. But I wrote it several years ago and have used the curriculum as a coaching model to help people conceptualize and achieve goals. Now, the current model is a 90-day process because it's easy to think about things 90 days from now. And so you break a goal down into the required sections. And that's sort of, where am I? Where do I want to get to? And there's help getting specific about that. And then the path is like the steps. Now, the key piece is, how do I keep moving? Because that is always the place where we get derailed. We either have physical things that happen to us. I don't know how, I can't figure this out. And more often than not, we have internal things. Coaches, we call that blocks, obstacles, barriers, whatever that is, right? And eliminating that head trash. So I put that all together in a wad called head trash is the key to this. So how do you keep moving with steps, and how do you keep moving past the head trash? So the results equation that Kathy held up is just a formula to do that. It's actually, I was a math major, yay. So I actually graduated in business, but had a scholarship as a math major. So it's a formula, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it helps people walk through a process of figuring out what they want, being truthful about what they're willing to do, and then how to stay motivated week to week. And so you have weekly calls, and sort of, that's the delivery model. But the purpose is to help you figure out things 90 days at a time and keep moving in a friendly, small, when she says group coaching, it's 5 or 6 people usually. And I don't let them get bigger than that. I just started one. I'm starting a couple in February that are really small. And I do that because it's more fun for me. I get to interact with everybody, and then I get a chance to know people really. So I really know what they're working on, and I'm not talking at you. I get to work with you in doing that. So is that a decent explanation of what
Yes, yes.
Kathy?
What I'd like to explain a little bit more about is the blocks, because it's uncanny how for this is my 19th year in business, and every year I've said I want to get my own products out. I want to have a university online. I want to do this. I've written 2 books. I'm writing a 3rd one right now, but I hadn't. I put me last. And I'm so glad that I found Kellan, and that that we took the plunge and took the classes. Again, I don't know if this is my 5th one or 6th one.
I don't either.
Who's counting? But what's amazing is I didn't realize I had all these blocks. It's interesting. I help all these other people get their products and services out in the world, but I didn't realize what my blocks and obstacles were. And I really didn't see, even though I have had project management training before, I ran a division of Arthur Andersen. I had 80 employees under me. So I had to be able to plan. I didn't plan very well for me. And so the process that you find is remarkable. How Kellan works with you and very lovingly takes you through seeing you and seeing what's blocking you from being your all-out divine self. And that's why I think it's conscious. This is you make conscious choices, correct?
Absolutely. So one of the things I like about you and your work is the blatant acknowledgement of our divine natures. Sometimes in business, we want to pretend that away. And, I'm not trying to be some religious woo-woo nutcase. Forget all that. The truth of the matter is if we go inside, we understand that we're dual beings. We have a spirit. We came from somewhere. There is a spark of life that comes and creates life. I mean, we clone organs and everything else, but we can't put the spirit, the spark in them. That's a divine piece. So when we're born, we don't have barriers, obstacles, and blocks. We don't have those, right? Those are learned. And the soup that I think, or the mud that I think we all live in, is some version of what's happened to us and what we're told and failures and stuff. And it accumulates into one sentence, which is, I'm not something enough.
Yep.
And that sentence has 4 ingredients. So somewhere along the line, we learn to believe that we're alone. We learn to believe that we're trapped. We learn to believe we're inadequate and insignificant. And if you take those 4 ingredients in different proportions, more of this or less of this, it equals everybody's story of I'm not something enough.
Right.
And when you think about our origin, am I okay? Did you want to say something?
No, it's great.
Okay.
Keep going.
When you think about our origin, we're not really alone. We are connected. We're all made by the same divine being. So the pedigree of your body might have 1,000 generations. The pedigree of your spirit can be written on one line. You're a creation of a divine being. So that means the opposite of alone is true. We're connected. We're connected to each other. If you want to call family, brothers and sisters, we're connected in one line to Creator. The second one is we're trapped. That's not true. That's a story. We're actually free. We're free to create what we want. And the third one is insignificant. The opposite is true. We're powerful. Like this last summer, I ended up in the hospital. And I've not been a hospital bunny. I haven't been in the sick house, ziekenhuis in Dutch. I haven't been in the hospital much in my life, ever. And I ended up in there for a month, a couple of weeks in a coma and ICU and in, the bacterial unit, biological hazmat suits and all that jazz.
We thought we were afraid we'd lose you, actually.
I had a near-death experience. I went to the door literally and had the invitation from the divine to come home. And in that conversation, I declined. I wanted to do some stuff here. But in that conversation, I learned 4 things. Number 1, you and I, we are divine. So I had a confirmation of that creation. Number 2, I also learned that each of us had an exciting assignment or assignments that we were given and excited about to come here and do. Number 3, I learned that we were also given the gifts and talents to do them. And so that says we're not inadequate, we're powerful. And number 4 is all of the help that we want from across the veil is available.
Right.
So with those 4 truths, then the truth is not that we're alone, we're trapped, we're inadequate, and we're insignificant. The truth is we're connected, we're free, we're powerful, and we're important. And to the extent we can create the essence of knowing each day, not just one big breakthrough, each day, that truth is the core operating place, then there's nothing we can't do.
Right.
And we say that in the self-development, oh, you can do anything you want. And then people say, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But there's truth. Because think about this. If I'm in Edmonton and I want to go see Kathy, there's a road between Edmonton and Denver. If I get on that road and I keep stepping one foot in front of the other, eventually I will get to Denver.
Right.
I might learn how to do it faster. I might learn how to do it more efficient. But the only thing that will keep me from getting to Denver is if I stop moving. So where am I? Where do I want to go? What's the path? And how do I keep moving?
Right. Right.
4 questions. I broke it into 5 parts because keep moving has 2 parts, the mechanical processes and the motivational processes.
Well, Kellan, the other thing that's remarkable about you is that you've had martial arts training, and there's something about that centering and the connection to your chi or your power that is palpable with you. It's not just that you are love. You're so full of love. It just comes out and it magnetizes people. But you have this power, and that was part of why I wanted you to be my teacher. It was that power that was the push through the obstacles power that I felt that muscle wasn't strong with me. And so that was part of it. And then this new Kellan that's after the near-death experience Kellan is even more powerful because you have a glimpse of what we're wasting if we don't do our life's mission, if we don't wake up to our divinity, if we don't.
I have a great big blown up picture on the wall up here that I don't think you've ever seen, but it was one picture that was taken at my 2nd degree black belt test. Now that test was a grueling 2-day thing. One day was demonstrating things. It was a written test and demonstration of combinations and particular moves. And the 2nd day was all out war for 8 hours.
Oh my God.
And that's, movement, constant movement. Some of it was sparring, some of it was work. But it was so physically exhausting that during times when you stood for just a moment to get instruction, pools of sweat would form around your feet.
Oh my God.
So it was that 8 hours. And at the end of that 8 hours, last of all, after all of that, then you had the breaking demonstration. And for 2nd degree black belt, you got to pick your own thing. And I had it's a dance where you have, boards hanging here and people positioned here with 2 or 3 boards, and you have to break them all, right? And some of them are just hanging. You have to break them in the air, called a speed break, and 2 boards, 3 boards. I did 5. And all of the pictures didn't, and so you set it all up in this giant choreography, and this whole 8-station break takes place in about 10 or 12 seconds.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's this and then that and this and that. And you step through it so everybody's in exactly the right place. And the final break that I had was 5 of those cinder block tops that are this thick. 5 of those on top of each other. And no picture, none of the pictures that somebody took of them came out except that one.
Oh.
And that one, at the absolute moment of contact, when all 5 bricks are splitting and the base is exploding out from everything is perfect. And so when you talked about that centering of force, when you do something like that, you either shatter your arm clear up to the elbow, clear up to the shoulder, or you break the stuff. I mean, there's nothing in between, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have that, and I blew it up, and it's been on my wall for years. I did that when I was 42.
Ah.
That was 20 years ago. But I wasn't a youngster. I was 42.
Yeah.
And the picture's been up there, and it reminds me of exactly what you said. When we choose to access and focus that, it's unstoppable. And the picture's awesome, and I used to drag my daughter's boyfriends in, and did you see that? You screw with my girl, that's your head. Right? Okay, so that worked. But anyway.
Intimidating. Oh my gosh. Well, we have quite a few people on, but they're all saying hi. There's Zach and Lynn and Joy and Kathy, but they haven't asked any questions. You guys, if you have any questions of Kellan, please throw them out here. It really enriches the conversation. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the book of context, which is your new book. I don't know if you have it handy or not, but that is a powerful lesson as well. And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So when I had the near-death experience, of course, that's something you never plan for, and you never think it's going to happen to you. And the disease that I had, pneumonia in both lungs, but the particular bacteria has a 10-day kill rate of 100%. And if you're not in the hospital, and if you are in the hospital, it has a 10-day kill rate of 60%. So I didn't get to the hospital till the end of day 5. And I'm not one that goes to the hospital, so I didn't know. I kept thinking it was the flu or something. And by the time I got to the hospital, it was emergency, like death. So I went in on Friday night. Friday afternoon, they did a bunch of tests. They took me in instantly, no 3-hour wait in emergency. It was like, holy crap. By Saturday morning at 1 a.m., I crashed. So we're talking crash cart, everything. Code blue, pink, red, orange, yellow, whatever it is in the hospital, right? And I'd been meditating, and I could feel just before that, and I could feel my body and spirit separating. So I knew something was serious. So I'd sent Joy a text with 3 lines. ICU, the second was isolation, intubation, and the third one is I might be dying. And right before that, the doctor had come in and said the thing you don't ever want to hear. He said, do we have your permission to intubate and to do anything we need to do to preserve your life?
Yeah.
Okay. What? Right? Yeah. And then
wow.
A little bit later, I crashed, and I was in a coma for a couple of weeks. So during that time, the first 4 days was life and death. Like I was at the edge, and Joy came every day, and no change, and there I sat. And she describes the scene in the hospitals, all these people running around doing like a movie, frantically doing whatever they do in that situation to keep somebody alive, or try to. For me, on the other side, I had 3 conversations with God at the door. And the door was literally a door. It was framed like a door. It was completely white on one side, and I was on the other side. And I was just sort of slightly leaning against the door jamb. And in the first conversation, it was a single question. Do you want to come home? And so that was a long and detailed discussion, and terrifying but rejoicing thought. I mean, there wasn't any question in my mind what this door was. And there wasn't any question in my mind what was on each side and what the opportunity was. And so I stood there in conversation with that invitation on the table.
Wow.
And you can imagine a sort of breathless conversation and consideration of everything, and ultimately considering what I had already committed to do, what I knew about my purpose and what I felt, and thinking about Joy and kids and grandkids and stuff. I just felt like I had more to do, so I declined the offer. then the conversation was over, and the next day, and I have no idea how you know it's the next day, but you do. So the next day, I'm back at the door, we're having a conversation, and the coming home wasn't talked about anymore. That was decided. It's like, okay, you're staying, so what are you doing? And I talked about coaching and helping people and everything else. And then those 4 things were discussed. Number 1, that we're divine. Number 2, we all had agreed on assignments. Number 3, we have the gifts and talents we need. Number 4, all the help's available that we want. And so in amazement, I thought about the power of those 4 statements, and I asked a question. Okay, if that's true, not if, you don't say if in those conversations. Since that's true, I said, why do we settle for crumbs? Since that's true, why do we settle for crumbs? And I don't know if it's the economy of heaven for brevity, but the answer came in 4 words: because you don't believe.
Wow.
And so and it wasn't about religious belief, it was about those 4 divine principles. And that just went all the way through me. And so then there was a long conversation about, okay, so my assignment is to change that. Okay, I'm in. What do we do? And there followed this book. And the book of context is the content of that second conversation, most of it.
Okay.
I may say most of it because, as you would expect in that kind of situation, there's a couple parts that are too sacred to write. But in that conversation, this was the answer I was given about how to identify the context. Means a set of things we believe.
Right.
We don't do anything outside our beliefs, and we wear it like a straitjacket. And so what do we do to identify and change what I call the core context, the core beliefs that we have that keep us from accomplishing those 4 things? And so that's where the book of context came from. So 2 books were written about the experience. One was the meeting God at the door. It was about the whole experience. And the other one was specifically the content of that conversation. And the book of context is what I learned in that conversation, and it forms a basis for understanding and then changing the context that each of us has, that we learn and we choose to live in and tied down by, to change it.
I think it's so powerful. I got to read it and then give a testimonial for your book and for the cover. And I have to say that it's so powerful. We really are governed by our opinions of everything, our judgments, and they can change on a dime if we just let them. I want to share, Kellan, a couple. We've gotten some comments, so I don't want to break it up too much, but I want you to see. Joy said, if negative language labels are bad, what we tell ourselves, what about the positive ones? How do we identify ourselves?
So when we refer to ourselves, we use the word I. There's a book in here called Language and Labels, and I really focus in that on the negative ones. I'm always late. I can't. I'm never. I'm just disorganized. I can't. We have this set of stereotypical labels that we put on ourselves. We stamp them on our forehead. We write them on our heart, and we live believing that they're true, and none of them are true. They're made up, and we attach them sometimes as excuses to excuse behavior we don't want to change, and sometimes as true limitations that we believe we can't X, Y, Z. None of those are helpful. What you choose to label yourself as in a positive way, if it's encouraging and good, okay. But the core, I say but is an acronym. Behold the underlying truth. So it negates everything that comes before it. Here's the truth. The truth is you call yourself I. What is the I that you're talking about? Here's what I learned. I went through this thing in the summer, and then most recently I was back in the hospital with another infection in my spine that immobilized me, and that's a whole story by itself. And I realized, because martial arts, everything else, I've always had a pretty in shape, capable body, and now I don't. I lost a bunch of weight, and I'm flatlined. I just barely had the intravenous antibiotic line taken out of me. I wore it for 6 weeks. It came out 2 days ago, Tuesday. I still wearing a bandage. Comes off today at noon. Rip. I get to take it off, and I'm done. And I'm free from, carrying a bag around of pump and intravenous antibiotics. But my body is flatlined. But here's what I realized the other day. When I say the I I'm referring to isn't the container. I am that spiritual essence that came from divinity. And so if that is I, then my body's busted right now. My container's weak and my back still hurts and I probably can't do very many push-ups. And, I get winded easily, still suffering damage from the pneumonia in the summer. Okay, so the I is the divine essence. And so when you label yourself, I don't like the word label. You are a divine creation. You have the opportunity to prepare yourself every day to get up in the morning and do whatever it is, prayer and meditation and things, to remind yourself who you are and how you want to walk through the world. So if you want to put a label, I am a divine creation. I am infinite spirit. I am capable. I am committed to the mission and purpose that I have. Okay, say that.
Right. Claim it. That. That's right.
Okay, be that and do it so that you're prepared every day. Is that it? I'm long-winded.
Great. Okay, super. I've got a lengthy one from Zach. Zach agrees with you, but I want to share it, and it'll fill the whole screen now. I am more in a space now of being less me and more of a faucet aligned with the collective. So I have the feeling that I am there in the sense that there is not there to get to. And I just flow and have known the divine connection. I'm really just watching and agreeing with things I've integrated and see how the information will give others a structure needed to create movement. Movement is a big thing to me because you always can create movement. And Kellan, dude, talk about blue eyes. I think they're popping out through the monitor. Okay, there you go, Kath. Nothing new. Just my usual lengthy sharing, LOL. We have a lot in common, Kellan, and of course, at some point, everyone does. Is that wonderful?
I've been told that about the eyes before. It's funny. One lady, when we moved from Phoenix to Edmonton to be up here to take care of Joy's mom, a friend of ours stopped us. We've said goodbye. We literally driving out of town. We stopped by their house to say goodbye and give them something that we had or something. She said, you just need to know that you, Kellan, have this incredible ability to command attention. So do good stuff. And so she had to say that. We had never had that kind of conversation before. And about the eyes particularly, I've been told that it's sort of like drills all the way to the soul. And that's a blessing.
Okay, so I'm going to share a few more things. Zach said, the less I am me, the more I become, which means less ego he is, I think. And then Joy asked a good question. If I want to replace a belief I have, where do I start?
So there's 4 steps, and they are in the book of context. If you are feeling stuck or powerless or confused or I don't know what to do, and you're living in that soup of story that we create that's I'm not something enough, the first thing you do is identify what you believe. What do I believe? Now, sometimes this can be painful and difficult. I believe I'm powerless. I believe I'm stuck. I believe the world is conspiring against me. Everybody hates me. I'm going to go eat worms. The universe hates me. God has abandoned me. I am powerless. I'm too old. I've lost too many chances. I've been too wicked and evil. And in my whole life, suffering with depression for, like most creatives, for many decades, my history is not pretty. I'm not going to pretend that it is. Battlefield of littered behind me. Okay, so what do I believe? And this is a place to be honest. This is what I believe about the situation. That's hard enough, but that's the easiest of the 4 steps. The next step is, what could I believe? Now, the minute we articulate a different possibility, the person I call the natterer, which sits on your shoulder, says, no, you can't, you're not, and lists all of the reasons why it's not okay. So then separate it. Instead of saying, you can say, what could I believe? Well, somebody else believes this, that they can accomplish this thing. Somebody somewhere believes that it's possible. I could believe that. I don't, but I could. Somebody does. So identify alternative things. I could believe I'm powerful. I could believe I'm capable. I could believe this is within my opportunity. I could believe that divine help is available, or that I can find the help from somebody I need. I could believe that. I don't, but I could. And so identifying alternative things that are often in direct opposition to what you listed that you do believe is possible, and the direct opposition creates internal conflict. And I solve that by setting it over here and saying, well, I could believe that. Somebody believes that. Fine. The point is to get not a ton, but 2 or 3 important things that you know that you could believe, even if you don't. The next step is to say, okay, I don't believe that, but if I did, what would I do? That's the easiest step of the 4, because the minute you realize what you could believe and you say that, you say, well, duh, if I believed that, then I would do this, 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 and this. Like if I really believed it, then the list of things that you would do, it's like, well, I could be Superman. I could make this phone call. I could go here. I could write this. I could say that. And that list is easy. I could do, well, if I believe that, then, and that's fun because that's an empowering list to make. It feels distant because you don't. So that's step 3. What do I believe? What could I believe? If I did, what would I do? And that always leaves you with a smile because you imagine you're Superman, Wonder Woman, John Wayne, whoever it is that did the stuff, right? Okay. Bruce Lee in the martial arts world. Here's the fun part. Even if you don't believe it, pick one thing off of that list of what I would do and just do it anyway. Just do it anyway. Without expectation, just do it anyway. And another one. And here's what happens without fail. When you do one of those things, or the second one, or the third one, you get an unexpected result. And what I mean by that is, oh, they did take my call. They did talk to me. Oh, that did happen. And just even the tiniest unexpected result gives you the certainty that there's something down this road.
Yep.
And it creates the power to do the next one and the next one. And without immediately trying to go take a chisel and hammer on these beliefs, because you figured out what you could believe and you said, what would I do? And you do some, you start to create a loop that gives that belief power.
That's
and
right.
The more you do that, then you can replace the old beliefs with the new by experimenting and doing the things that there are to do.
Right. Perfect. Okay, so I got a couple more comments for you, which is wonderful. Noelle and Bob, who are dear friends of mine, said, ask who is asking the question/comment. And then after reflection, thank you for sharing and connect with heart for truth.
So I love that because ask who is asking the question, comment. I'm assuming you're talking in the belief model in terms of what you believe. The way I phrase that is exactly right. I say to myself, okay, who's talking here? Right? Who's talking? And I sometimes will go on long meditation. I spend somewhere between 2 and 3 hours in meditation per day. And then people say, how do you do that? How do you have time to do that? And the answer is meditation creates time. So if I spend 2 hours in meditating, I have 4 hours more to work. So I have twice as much time. So actually I have twice as much time as anybody else I know. And I mean that, and I'm not being funny. But anyway, so I always say, who's talking? In one of the long meditations, I identified 3 key players on my stage. And one was called the protector, and one was called the obsessive, and one was called the creative. The creative, the obsessive, and the protector. And the acronym spells COP. Accidentally, I don't know. And so they each had different roles, and I regularly ask who's talking, and then I'll renegotiate.
She said, yes, who's talking here?
Yeah, who's talking here? So identifying who's talking and what their goal is. And what I found is just saying, okay, what is it that you want? Not in a confrontational way, but in a conversational way, and then waiting. The answers surprise you. And so one of my stories to overcome was my protector operating in the deflection distraction mode. And when I finally got him to articulate what he wanted, his answer just blew me away. I'm protecting you from being nothing by doing nothing. And
Oh,
so the horrifying fear was
oh,
that I would somehow be nothing. In other words, I'd fail at everything and prove all the naysayers right. And so to protect me from that ultimate blackness of destruction, of being nothing, then we'll do nothing. We'll dabble around the edges. We'll get ready forever. We'll string and unstring the bow. You know what I'm saying? I'm
yes, yeah.
protecting you from being nothing by doing nothing.
Oh yeah, that well the blocks are all self-imposed, self-created, and they I'm sure they were there for your ego to protect you in some way, but now they need to go. So
So what I did with that is I thanked him for doing such a great job. And actually, I was doing a drama. They were on stage. I called him up and gave him an Oscar and had the audience applaud. And then I asked, would you be willing to renegotiate your contract and protect me from something else?
wonderful.
And so we had an entire conversation for a couple of hours about what that would look like and made an agreement about a new role. And so that was how I actually worked through that particular thing, identified the character on the stage of my life and renegotiated the role.
Wonderful. So there's a couple more messages. Mia, hello, Mia. Lovely to see you here. She said, "Oh, meditation creates time," which is a cool thing.
Yeah, I need to say something to you. I teach a class. I just taught it for the last 2 Saturdays. It's a 3-hour workshop on how to create time. And that's one little piece of it. And I don't mean that in a light way. There's ways that it's true. So meditation creates time. People are staggered by the amount of time that's available that they don't use. I have a client who told me going through this literally in a week. He called me and he said, I have twice, and he was very careful with his words, and he's not prone to exaggeration. He said, I have twice as much time as I used to. He said, I'm getting everything that I needed to get done, and I have all this extra time.
Wow.
Luxurious time. And he said, I'm just, one, enjoying it, and two, figuring out how to use it. So that's a true thing.
Wonderful. Yeah, I took that class too, and I also took the speed reading class, which was amazing. So, I mean, if you guys want to be more productive, you really need to talk to Kellan. His process is quite amazing if you actually do it, if you show up and do it and follow the process. You will be amazed at how much you can contribute more to the people you love and to the world and for your mission than you're doing right now, because our stories are in the way, and these processes allow you to Judy Anderson, time, I need more time. Judy, you would love this. You would love this course. So anyway, I would, Kellan, can you tell people how they can reach you so that
the easiest way to reach me is to friend me on Facebook. I have room for, I'm not trying to fill it out at 5,000. I'm about 4,000. I have room for plenty of Facebook friends. If you're interested in chatting, friend me on Facebook and then send me a message on Facebook. I use messages for almost everything.
As a friend, right? I'm copying the link right now and putting it in.
Personal friend. I don't do the whole business separation. I have one life. I'm one person. I write books. I do music. I've got a bunch of albums on Amazon. I've got a bunch of books. And I coach. And that's it. And I live to do that. And I live to do the mission that I was given and that I know I had that summer, but it was what I was doing already. It's just that everything now, of course, is on steroids because of the urgency and the joy.
Well, but,
so friend me on Facebook and send me a private message.
So you guys, seriously, Kellan had a near-death experience, and while he was recuperating, he wrote 2 books, wrote and published, and they are printed. This is not little Kindle books that are, bathroom books. These are real meat and potato books that he got the inspiration and the downloads while he was in his near-death experience. So this is powerful information for you guys. And I feel, again, very honored to be part of Kellan's groups. And anyway, I just wanted to introduce him to you and hope that you will take advantage of connecting with him. There seems to be a lot of interest on your Create Time class, Kellan. So you may want to do something with that so people could connect with you.
I'd love to, and we'll just chat and see if it's fit.
Okay.
I like my universe is all incoming, and what I mean by that is the message you, all of us, each of us, insert a message in the marketplace, whatever your message is. Turn your light up to 11 and insert it clear, loud, and consistent. Clear so that it's unambiguous. You'll get friends and you'll get enemies. Who cares? Loud because there's so much noise, and consistency actually trumps content. I was the MC at a conference last October, a Vid Summit, which has been going on for 5 years, and I just got the advanced ticket notification for next year's Vid Summit.
Oh, really? I want to go.
Daryl Eves, who runs it's a good friend of mine, and he's had me be the MC all the years, and I will be again this year. But anyway, in that context, I got to meet Gary Vaynerchuk, who's one of the keynotes for the last couple of years. And Gary said, and I love this, consistency trumps content. In other words, if you just keep showing up with your message, with love and openness, people will hear the right people, and they'll want to talk to you. And some will pay you and some won't, and who cares? Put your message in the marketplace, clear, consistent, and loud, and with all the love in your heart coming from the divine person that you are. And there's lots of people that are.
There's somebody else asking what are the name of
your. Bob, here's the easiest way. Put my name in Amazon. You'll see them all. And there's a couple of other books in there that I've edited from clients and stuff, but there's several there that are written by me. I wrote a series on meditation. There's my story called Tightrope of Depression. There's Meeting God at the Door. There's the Book of Context. They're all on Amazon. So spell my name correctly, or you won't find me. Kellan, Fluckiger. There's no N in it. Fluckiger. When I was doing my consulting, because my last name's so complicated, I was one of those one-name people. So all these CEOs and ministers of energy and everything would be meeting, and is Kellan coming? I was one of those one-name people, probably because my last name was so messy.
Manny's on here, and when Manny and I did the interview, we brought you up, and we didn't say your last name because we were afraid to say it wrong. So
I'll give you one more funny story. I was a keynote speaker at a conference in the years I was doing consulting, and a friend of mine was putting it on. It was a 3-day conference, big deal on energy, electricity, and deregulation, a bunch of stuff. And he left the L out of my last name on the program.
Oh.
So that meant Fuckiger instead of Fluckiger. So, of course, he died, and he spent 3 days apologizing. And I got the joke for 3 days and at his expense about that. So, yeah, Fluckiger is how you say it. Kellan Fluckiger. Put it on Amazon, and you'll find music and books and whatever interests you.
Well,
easiest way.
To end this story, I would like to say, in our coaching call on Tuesday, you told a story about being all in. And I think that may be something I'm going to put somewhere, either on my monitor or somewhere, about being all in. I know we're over time, but do you have time to tell a little bit about being all in?
I do. We each have one life, okay? And you get one chance to do each day. And you can spend today regretting tomorrow, or regretting yesterday, or being afraid of tomorrow. Your call. Or you can spend today having prepared yourself and being all in with all of your heart, all of your energy, your light, your love turned up to 11, forgiving everything before you quickly, sparing no space and time for sadness and sorrow. It gets in the way of your light. And Kathy, I don't remember exactly the story, if there were particular details that I shared. What story was it?
You were talking about being in the ambulance, and you thought,
Oh,
"Oh
that
no, I'm
I
I'm
got
going,
it. I
I'm
got
going
it.
to have another near-death
Yeah.
experience. Oh
So
my God!" And
I
and you
got it.
had promised God that.
I know.
Okay,
So
sorry.
in the summertime, I had the near-death experience. And I got out in July and I was busted, completely weak physically. I couldn't do any push-ups, and my lungs were broken and a lot of damage from what had happened to my lungs. So I was huffing and puffing for months. And I was gradually getting better in August and September, and I didn't go anywhere for those 2 months. In October, I did a speaking tour of 4 things. And at the end of November, my back started to hurt. And I didn't know why. And I'd fallen down in the ravine hiking. I wasn't wearing my ice cleats, and I fell down. I thought maybe I tweaked my back. Turns out that it was really serious. And on one day, December 5th, I woke up in the morning and my legs, everything below the waist was not working. I got out of bed and I put my legs on the floor and collapsed, like completely flat. Then I thought I'd get up on my hands and knees to go to the bathroom because I had to pee. And I got up on my hands and knees, flat. The only direction of motion was down. So I slithered across the floor on my arms like an army mud crawl, and went to the bathroom and then slithered down the stairs, same way, to the couch, and was there for a couple of hours trying to figure out what to do and see if anything would change, and it didn't. So we eventually called 911. The ambulance came. And I thought, wow, I'm on my way back to the hospital. Everything is broken. My body, my arms were working, but not all that well. So I don't know what's happening to me. Like, I don't know if I'm going to live or die, or I don't know. I mean, this is just literally 4 or 5 months after the other. And so I'm laying there in the ambulance, and all of a sudden, for some reason, a picture of a poker game came in my mind. Now, I'm not a poker fan. I know how to play several kinds, but I'm not a fan, and I don't watch the World Series of Poker or any other thing. But I have occasionally seen it, as like you do, as an advertisement, or it'll be on after something, or in Sports Channel or something, and people are moving, big stacks of chips to the middle, and everybody's sitting around trying to have a poker face, and it's all serious because they got millions of dollars, and it's on the line, and they're big bets and all this stuff. And for some reason, that picture came to mind, and I thought to myself, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm at peace, but there's something going on here. And all of a sudden, I had this sense that my foe, Grim Reaper over there, had put in all the chips, right?
Right.
And when that happens in a game of cards, you have two choices. And the choice is you either fold, I fold, or you look at the chips, you look in your heart, and you say, I call, right? And so that was the image in my mind. And I thought, okay, and this emotional because it was powerful. If this is the game, I slammed my hand on the stretcher and I said, then I call. And we're all in. And so I went to the hospital, and it went in, and they discovered they had an abscess on my spine, and I had to have emergency spinal surgery, and they moved me from the emergency room to the operating room, and emergency surgery and a whole 9 yards. And then when the surgeon took out my stitches, I was a stegosaurus, right? For a few weeks. He said to me, an older fellow, and he said, I've done a zillion surgeries. And he said, I can count on less than one hand the number of people who have come in the hospital like you did and then walked out of here. And he said, you're so lucky. And I looked him right in the eye and I said, I'm not lucky, I'm blessed. And so that was all in. And so you have a choice in your life every day. How are you going to live it?
Perfect.
End of story.
Thank you. Perfect. That's what I woke up this morning remembering. Being all in.
All right. Well, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, everyone, I hope that you'll connect with Kellan, and I'll put some more information about him and his website in the descriptions. And thank you, Kellan, so much. So glad you're in my life. I just appreciate you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Completely and with all my heart.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking me.
Yep. Yep. Have a great one. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.